Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest. He comes to us from Buenos Aires, Argentina. His name is Pablo Villizzianto. His last name is spelled Villizzianto. And if you're watching this on X, Twitter, Rumble, or Rockfin, you'll see a cover of his new book. I think it's a very important topic for sure. Important book, important topic. And the title is How to Choose a False President. But it's basically about this kind of global phenomenon of vote fraud and these problems with vote tallies that aren't just in the United States. Here in California, where I am right now, they just finished counting literally 1 month and a week after the vote on November 5th. And it's very strange how all the people who won, all the benefits, all the found votes, all went one way. Wow, felt strange. It's not prima facie evidence of anything improper, right? I mean, it's such a joke. But he's done a great job of surveying the kind of global situation of all these fraud cases that have happened and are happening. And some we know, some I didn't know. Like I'm very familiar with what happened in Brazil. That was 2022, Bolsonaro and Lula. And it just follows the same kind of like algorithmic pattern. And it goes way back, this whole kind of problem. But he has not only surveyed a lot of these subjects, he's also has ideas on how to solve it and how to cure this. We were talking in the pre-show, and he's also written books on Javier Milei, right? Milei, the new prime minister, who I only hear good things about fixing deficits and kind of a libertarian attitude that Argentina hasn't had in a while. So Argentinian people spoke and put in somebody who's really an iconoclast, very interesting, and now a figure on the world stage, I would say. Milei has been to Israel and to the United States. He recently was with Trump, so it's kind of a new new type of leadership for Argentina. But Pablo can speak more to that. So Pablo Villizzianto, welcome to the show.
Thanks you, William. Thanks you a lot.
Yeah. So just one sec. For people who this is not English is not Pablo's first language, so I'll try to help him out, but he does speak Spanish, so I'll try to help him out. So go ahead, Pablo. Sorry.
Okay, great. Well, I thank you very much for the invitation to your program. I also thank Max for tipping you on the book. And well, yes, it's exactly as you said. I wrote 2 books so far. One on how to choose a false president, which is about how the elections are stolen. I am heavily politically involved. I am a minor authority of a minor political party, and I am heavily experienced at politics. I got involved when I was 22, about 2017, and I noticed very fast how there is intel everywhere. And I already kind of knew through family experience. My grandpa was an operative. He even met my grandma through the political local. He managed. He even achieved some positions in Loma de Zamora. As let's say, you have the people who manage the county, and they have a council, and he entered that council. And well, he remained connected. Then I also knew it from dating the daughter of operatives. And well, her brother and father were in jail. And were the deep state, or part of the local deep state. And well, I found always found that there is always a clique manipulating stuff behind this sense, what people call conspiracies. I mean, if there isn't a clique or interrelated, you always have another group manipulating society. It can be worse, even if it is related to big corporate. There I had quite a background, and I got into the Autonomist Party and was involved in the 2019 elections here as a background. And I became a vocal of the party, and I was also involved in the 21 elections in a very minor capacity, being what is kind of a fiscal, which is someone who goes and is the lowest position in another party that makes sure that their votes aren't stolen. I don't know if Americans.
You're trying to make sure votes aren't stolen. You were kind of a minorly involved in these parties. Back in 2017, you got involved. So you've kind of been around witnessing this kind of voting systems. Is that correct?
Yes, and here it's really important to know all this stuff. And well, in 2023, the party I'm part of achieved a legislator of the Mercosur and scored 7 points in the national elections, being part of the coalition.
Your new party did well and became part of the national elections, right?
No, it is it has more a century of history.
Okay, gotcha.
It was quite a single party regime in the Victorian era. It won the Argentinian Civil War of the 19th century, and conquered about 1 million square kilometers. But then collapsed in the 20th century. And I got into this conservative party because I was extremely disgruntled with the other sectors of society, and I come from a socialist background. My parents are socialists, and I lean conservative, kind of. But in Argentina, it's all a mess, and things don't work like in the States, like in the Anglosphere.
Gotcha. So you're dissatisfied. Your parents are socialists. You're more conservative, I guess, in that sensibility. But that's kind of a national shift in Argentina, too. Would you agree with that?
No. I think it's the usual Saturnine cycle. There is a cycle in Argentina of each 30 years, which is aligned with the orbit of Saturn, the planet. And Milei is the representative, in this case, of this, let's say, planetary movement. And in this case, he will fail, he will succeed in economics as usual. Same happened 30 years ago, and same happened another 30 years prior.
So what you're saying is Argentinian politics operates on a 30-year Saturnine cycle. So it goes through these cyclical phases. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. It follows the positions of Saturn. Saturn being representative in the astrological tradition of the limitations of this world. It's a malefic cycle. And it always works. When Saturn is in Aquarius, which is the Saturn return of Argentina, there is always a conservative, let's say, win, and people think that the country is turning right, but no, because here the liberals and the conservatives are partners in ransacking the country, because that's why it's poor. They are partners. They aren't enemies. In fact, Milei has a problem because he partnered with the Chavistas through made a negotiation, which is filtered by other liberal sectors, which will be electorally, let's say, damaged, because he sees an opposition to eliminate the primaries at a level, and that will have the consequence that in Argentina it will polarize. and leave two coalitions, his coalition and the far left coalition, which are Chavistas. And he had a pact there, and they also have economic, let's say, transactions for the laws. There was an scandal of a libertarian senator that was captured in the frontier with Paraguay and Brazil because he carried $200,000 in cash with him and his secretary, which is a young 30-year-old woman. And
sorry to interrupt, but are the Chavistas, are those in Argentina, or are you referencing Chavez?
No, they are yes, it's heavily connected. Yes, they are part of the same global faction. All of Latam every country has a Chavista faction. I know them, some of them personally.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Very minor people, operative, but still. And the thing is that he has a deal with them to make a duopoly, because here today in Argentina the political landscape, the political power is extremely fragmented, which is good for us, and he wants to ruin that, to make a duopoly, which will be a functional monopoly with the Chavistas.
Right. And you have a monopoly with the Chavistas.
Gotcha. Yes, political monopoly.
We're all communists.
Yes, they are communists. Yes, they are communists. They are communists. They are in third positions. They are communists, and they are totalitarians. They even tried to make a civil coup, a soft coup, but they failed. They failed because they weren't willing nor able to make a military coup, and they didn't have the capacity to rig the elections, which the liberals here tried to rig the elections, and the Chavistas here, and I quoted in the book, successfully repelled the method of the deep state or the global liberal order, the liberals, the Atlantist elites uses to rig elections, which is the electoral voting. The electoral voting machines are key to election rigging. They are the key. In every country I surveyed, they were used to this effect. They were employed to falsify the votes.
So every country that uses these ballots, there's a falsified vote. Is that correct?
Exactly. It's correct. In fact, the book I wrote, the first chapter, could be used, I think, to nullify elections, because I proved it.
So you think that a lot of these things could be nullified, and that's a long list. So you have Rwanda, Philippines, U.S., India, Brazil, Germany, Holland, United Kingdom, Finland, Australia, Ireland, Namibia, and Estonia. You think those all involved vote fraud? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And there is more. We can just quote, which I did. I quote the president, the higher authorities of those countries. You can even quote the ex-Argentinian president, Cristina Kirchner, which is far left, and then you can quote people on the American far right about the electoral fraud.
Yeah, no, the fraud was, I mean, for me, you're not allowed to say it here in the United States, but the 2020 election was stolen. We had an election just recently, 2024, November, where 15 million votes are missing. How does that happen? It's not explicable. There were 81 million votes for Biden and 66 supposedly for Kamala Harris and Walz. Well, it's not explainable.
No, they just didn't rig it. I think this time they noticed they will have a mass civil disobedience. The country could have dissolved, and they will have less power. So they saw a situation where they need the white men of America to don't be so disgruntled with the regime, because they have a war with Russia and China. And they also lost a huge part of the American Air Forces during the COVID-19 operation. So they may lose their power, the American elites, the liberal or Atlantist elites, really extremely fuck up their positions. They ruin it, they jeopardize it, they put their power, which is the basis of an elite, in risk.
So they engaged in very high risk behavior, is what you're saying. High risked. And so I think they really did. I mean, they literally were about to lose power, tried to kill the president of the Trump in July, right? July 13th, 2024. Twice, actually, 2 attempts that we know of. I mean, who knows what else is going on behind the scenes, but there's a real contest for power, and it hasn't really transferred. It's one of the strange things. The U.S. has generally had peaceful transfers of power, I guess, maybe, arguably, but not this time. Like, he hasn't even, we have a whole nother month to wait, month and 10 days, I guess, to see if Trump makes it to office. But it really is something else. Like, there's just so much fraud. The entire voting system, the most powerful country in the world, has it's built for fraud. There's no question about it, the U.S. system. It's meant to be that way for fraudulent reasons. It's incredible.
And then there is the issue that it happens the same in the most powerful democracies in the world. Brazil, for example, they just have to connect the system, the servers, to the web, to internet. And then in the day of the election, of the 22 elections, they had a massive data transfer from Virginia to Brasilia, which was revealed causally by the Russians, by Kaspersky.
Oh, so the Russians revealed this made it massive data transfer from Brasilia or something else in Brazil. So Brasilia is a state within Brazil. But you can see it. It's interesting. You might not have seen this, Pablo, but in the United States, our memes and our things are like this algorithm where the votes go in the same, and all of a sudden all the votes go for Biden. And almost the same thing happened in Brazil, where you saw Bolsonaro winning, and then just slowly the slow climb for Lula and made it to the top. And I've done other shows where Jerome Corsi was a guy on my show, where they're tinkering with the vote rolls before and after elections. So most people in their mind, they think, oh, this is only happening leading up to the election. A lot of the stuff gets sifted after the election to validate who they want to win. And I believe, in my opinion, that some of that stuff happened in the United States just this year. So sorry to interrupt.
Yes, as a reference, for example, in Argentina, the votes are counted the same night. So it's entirely bullshit that they can't count it in the same day. It's a lie.
No, it's a lie. No question.
Now, how we have to see this thing globally. So in India, it's worse even, because there is much more persecution against the whistleblowers. And in Brazil, kinda. But the thing is that it's not that it's only a faction, let's say the liberal Atlantis, because the socialists are the same. And Trump and the conservatives, the Bush faction, also including the same. So I quote them all. And you have that this electoral fraud connects the Bushes, of course, in some place there must be, Trump must know this, I believe it, I maybe know, but, and then you have the liberals.
Sorry to interrupt, but you're saying the Bushes are connected to this vote fraud. Trump has to know, but it's happening globally, right? And then, so part of the playbook, part of the scheme is to go after the whistleblowers, because here in the United States, a lot of the whistleblowers endured very severe punishments, lost their money, lost their legal license, their law license, amongst other things. So that happened globally. Is that what you're saying, Pablo?
It's complex because it's worse globally, but the thing is, these whistleblowers being persecuted proves their point. That is, if they are persecuted for saying there is electoral fraud, because it's everything they suffer was an electoral a political persecution, it proves they're being truthful, being faithful in what they say. And now the thing about the Bush and the Republican Party, the Democrats were alleging electoral fraud from the 2000 to 2020 because the truth, hard and disgusting, is that the ones that pioneered electronic voting machines in the states were the Republicans, not the Democrats.
Right. So the benefit during the Bushes went to the Republicans, not the Democrats. 2000 and 2004. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And there were more cases. There was, I remember an auditor, Spunamur, and well, there were a lot of cases, and I quote Fox, CNN, The Independent, on how another source is Forbes, CBS, The Guardian, Time, on how the machines, the electoral voting machines, were hacked easily. I quote a lot of instances of easily hacking the U.S. voting machines in just a couple of minutes.
Right, they're easily hacked. There was all kinds of stories about some of these assets from the Republicans. I can't remember the company offhand, but that they were part of this company. It's been a while.
Yeah, there is a whole market about it, but the thing is, the Democrats didn't solve the issue of electoral fraud, and they just brought it to its climax in 2020, defeating Trump. The other problem is that it's not that Trump is a honest, true old man that, I don't know, will do good and that's it. He's an operative of a powerful faction that got massively involved in politics, which is the Chaval Lubavitch. They got all into the politics of the American continent, of Argentina, with Milei. In Brazil, they backed Bolsonaro, and they first scored the greatest win with Trump in 2016. And the Chaval Lubavitch, they are right-wing Jews. They are, let's say, the Jewish equivalent of Francisco Franco in the Catholic War. And if you aren't a Jew, they discriminate you.
Say that one more time. Hold on. So you're saying Milei, Bolsonaro, and Trump are being backed by other international forces associated with Franco's Catholic Franco? Is that what
yes. The thing is this: you have the extreme right of every religion. For example, the Sunnis are well known, and for example, in Argentina, the vice president, which is Victoria Villarruel. I know the people of her, let's say, entourage, and there are of the Catholic nationalism. And they have the Opus Dei up to their eyeballs, and they are leftist, Victoria Villarruel in particular. And her let's say, her entourage are that people, are Catholic nationalists. There is the Opus Dei everywhere, and...
You're saying Opus Dei, right?
Yes, exactly.
Opus, O-P-U-S space D-E-I. So you're saying Victoria Villarruel is influenced by Opus Dei. Is that what you're saying?
No, she's part. She's part.
She's part of the Opus Dei.
Yes, and she's a leftist. Do you see the let's say the most orthodox and traditionalist Catholics?
That's her right there.
Yes, and well, there is other connections. For example, the father Olivera Rabasi and the Institute of the Incarnated Verb, and then there were cases of sexual abuse in the Jewish Catholic institutes, and there is more. All the typical scandals of the Catholic Church.
So you're saying that Opus Dei and the scandals of the Catholic Church, which there are many in the United States, and there are many in South America, as a matter of fact, a lot in Chile and Argentina. So are you saying that this is all kind of overlaps with each other?
Yes, they are partners, they are political partners. You have the Chaval Lubavitch leading. In the case of Milei, they are leading. They have several billionaires. And the Jews, as usual, are thoroughly competent with commercially speaking. and it seems they profited with Bitcoin, and well, they scored a huge win the past decade, and part of that was moving politically. And for example, Carlos Maslatón, you can Google him. He plays, politically speaking, in a really mercurial manner. He is heavily involved with a U.S. asset, U.S. Embassy asset, which is Sergio Massa, which was the presidential candidate of the Chavistas and lost in the ballotage in the second round against Javier Milei. So it's all related.
Oh, interesting. So they're all related. They don't talk much about the Catholic influence in Argentina in the States, but she is a Villarreal, is a traditionalist Catholic. She attends the Tridentine Mass at the Chapel of Our Lady of Mediatrix of All Graces in Buenos Aires, where Pablo is. And it's operated by the Society of St. Pius X, a traditionalist Catholic group which is not in full communion with the Holy See, right? And the Pope is also Argentinian, right? So, interesting.
Yes, and this is relevant because they are in conflict with the dominant faction in the Catholic Church, which are the Jesuits, which are currently ruling the Catholic Church.
With the Jesuits, is that what you're saying?
Jesuits.
The Jesuits.
Jesuits. Yes. And the Jesuits are more with the third positionist Peronist. Villarreal also likes to flirt with the Peronists because the Jews keep on taunting her. They hate her because she's a Catholic.
They hate her because she's Catholic. So the Peronists hate Villarreal, so there's kind of a fight.
Wow, no. The thing is, Peronists are third positionists. They aren't nor left nor right. They aren't aligned neither with the socialists nor with the liberals. But the third positionists are thoroughly infiltrated by both the liberals and the socialists.
I see. And so third positionists. I see.
And Villarreal flirts with the Peronists, which are third positionists. And they are
getting back to it, so Milei, Bolsonaro, and Trump are all part of. They have influence. They're influenced by an international Catholic Opus Dei order, is what you're saying.
I don't know exactly Bolsonaro, but Milei definitely, because there is the vice president. Bolsonaro, I know he's heavily influenced by both by the evangelicals and by Israel, because the truth is, I am in admiration of the Jews because they've been a minority. They end up ruling. It's impressive, really. I saw the president here flaming their flag and so on, and same with Bolsonaro. I think that's because they transfer them money for the campaigns. I think that's why.
Okay, so Bolsonaro got removed from. He should have probably been prime minister or whatever, the head of Brazil, but he lost due to vote fraud, right? Isn't that your position?
Yeah, he lost. He lost a very thin margin, but he lost, and he lost really because of the electronic voting. Now, today, Lula didn't align with the state, and that is the Democrats and the Bushes. That is, Biden and the Bushes both prefer Lula. Why? Because Lula was being a socialist. He's almost a social democrat, and when he was young was a communist. Mm-hmm. He wasn't aligned with this faction of the far right of Israel.
The far right of Israel.
Yes. And this faction of the far right of Israel is heavily related both to Likud. For example, Milei heavily relates to Netanyahu, which is Likud.
Likud party, right? Yeah, Likud.
Yes. And Trump also relates to Netanyahu, same Likud, Bolsonaro, the same.
Right.
And
they're all there with Netanyahu, and Malay went to the Kotel, right? The temple, prayed at the temple wall. I think he's been to see Schneerson, this rabbi that they admire. He's
yes,
buried in New York City.
He went to the synagogue just a couple of weeks before the tunnels fell down, and it was a huge scandal.
Yeah, and he's comfortable flying the Israeli flag too, so he's very much on there. So there's like far right elements supporting these guys internationally, the Opus Dei of hard right Catholics and the hard right Israelis.
Yes, exactly. And Netanyahu is allied with Itamar Ben-Gvir, and Itamar Ben-Gvir is part of the Jewish homeland, hogar judío in Spanish.
Say that again in Spanish. It's Itan Ben-Gvir, who I think is the head of their FBI. It's Shin Bet, I believe. But what did you say? He's part of what in Spanish?
Hogar judío, Jewish home, or something like that. I should check exactly the name of the political group of Itamar Ben-Gvir.
Okay.
And this is relevant because all this group, the Likud and the group of Itamar Ben-Gvir, are making the current war in the Middle East.
Right.
And this has the relevance that as they conquer territory, which is contrary to the rules of the rules-based liberal world order we live in. So, with an American decline and Israel and Russia conquering territory, it breaks the taboo and the fear that America will intervene against an imperialist country. So let's say China wants to build or carve an empire out of Taiwan and what was a century ago French Indochina, the same territory, Vietnam and others, Laos, Myanmar and other.
Call it Vietnam, Laos, and
yes.
Cambodia.
Yes, and why not even go all down to Malaysia and Singapore, because there is a extremely important choke point there.
Right, Singapore's always been a choke point, which is why the British Empire owned it, right? Or formerly owned it before the Japanese and everything. Yeah, Singapore, very important.
Exactly, and so in this behavior of Israel is relevant because of this. It's bad that they attack the weak, the Palestinians and others, and on a global scale they jeopardize a legal order which was necessary to create the current global trade route, and also is necessary for its maintenance. There needs to continue in a taboo and a fear of invading and annexing countries, such that global commerce can continue and global prosperity. It could cause a lot of inflation and a lot of impoverishment in all these wars.
Right. So inflation and impoverishment are the secondary results of these wars. Is really, I mean, here in the United States, it's incredible.
Yes, and it gets worse because these kind of actions generate ripple effects and generate successive order effects. That is, you have an action which can be in the Middle East, causing or being part of a war and stabilizing a region, and then you have other countries that see that America can't hold the liberal world order where everyone has to keep or stay at peace with each other and has to trade with each other and can't annex territory and can't destroy infrastructure. So other countries may do it. Some countries ruled by a socialist, nationalist, or liberal, whatever. China is a huge candidate for this. And then eventually you have, let's say China does it, let's say, I don't know, maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever, and that reduces the supply of products and impoverishes the world. And so it's tremendously negative war. I am entirely in favor of peace.
Right.
So all these parties will, in a predictably, have a entirely negative effect in humanity's well-being because they are bellicist.
Because they are what?
Bellicist. They are belligerent.
Belligerents.
Yes.
Yes. So they're all warmongers.
Yes, exactly. What would be good would be parties that are entirely wholesome and honest. I don't expect it to happen, but that would be the idea. And it's fundamental for facing or bracing against this to tackle the worst problems, and which is the hard truth that America isn't working well.
That America isn't what?
Isn't working well.
It's not working well?
Exactly, politically.
No, it's not working well at all. We're almost like defaulting on our debt. We're going to be where Argentina was. Literally default on our debt.
No, because you don't have the British embassy sabotaging the country. And
You
the
don't have
people
what?
suiciding. You don't have the British embassy sabotaging the country. There is not the psychopath in the foreign office trying to destroy you.
Oh, okay.
They want to use you, but not destroy you yet.
So you think the British Empire will let us flop?
No, they fail. How I see it is that, and what I prove what I see it, even prove in my book about the libertarians, is that the Western foreign offices, the Western power foreign offices, are heavily invested in Argentinian politics. Everyone knows it's in politics. Everyone goes to the embassies because they, in an unregistered manner, they pay well. And truth is, it works like a colony. They just take the money and that's it, and ruin the country.
Take the money.
That's why.
The country, right?
That's why Argentina works badly.
Right, but Argentina is the wealthiest country in South America. Maybe Brazil, or would you say the standard of living is best in Argentina, or was?
No. Argentina is a middle-income country. That is it's average. It could be better. It could move to a Southern European level or an Eastern European level because that's the potential of the population if we see, for example, IQ. It isn't very smart. It has between 86 and 93 IQ. And it isn't really brilliant population, but it could live kind of better. But that's not the problem. The problem is that you have a malfunction of the currency in an economic sense, and the political process, albeit it's according to law, is not in favor of the citizens because it's regulated to be made very difficult, really in extreme difficulty, in making a political party. So you need to be a nation state to make a political party. That's why Milei had so much backing of Israel, because he needed to achieve the presidency. And the factions he allied with are with a very important sector of the Catholic Church, which is global in scope. The Opus Dei is really relevant, and I think the Catholics have several positions in the American Supreme Court. The
Opus Dei
Supreme Justice
Court, right? Yeah.
I don't remember if they were three or four or something like that.
Wow.
And you also have other parties, the radicals, the pro and part of the Peronists and the communists, which have always, since the at least 20th century, been heavily related to and funded by the Western embassies. The British, Germans, Dutch, American, part of American taxpayers end up paying for political campaigns in countries like Argentina and others. Right. And so on and so forth. And that is the basis of the geopolitical alienation of the country, and that the country ended up following the American lead in, I don't know, for example, Bush wanted to make a war in Iraq, and you have a lot of countries that are satellites or client states of the American Republic Why? Because you have the embassies distributing money for the political elite.
Right. The embassies are
Of course,
transferring money to the political elite. Right?
yes, of course, in unregistered money. That's why Bitcoin was also made, because it's even a more opaque way of transferring money.
Right. Huge money transfers. I think we had a huge money laundering thing going through Ukraine, through embassies and things like that. And I mean, it's just a huge scam. Yeah. And through Israel. Actually, Israel's relationship with the United States is like almost like a money laundering operation as well. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, we operate, originally we're a republic. I don't know what we are now, but it's not a pure republic, especially with this much vote fraud and ballot harvesting and stuff like that. It's kind of like a kleptocratic empire, global empire, because the satellite states, as you mentioned, a lot of them don't have a choice. They don't have a choice but to go along with the U.S. because if they don't, they'll get sanctioned or worse. And it's almost like the U.S. is not operating when it wants to used to, kind of through negotiation and kind of agreement. But like, you better follow us or else. You could end up like Ukraine, or your political career could be over. So it's very much of a much more kind of Roman rule, I would say, than maybe it's the original character of the United States. So strange days, very strange. It's really hard to define what the U.S. is now, at least in my opinion. As far as it's easier you can put easy labels on it, but something else is going on. And it involves a lot of these strange things, just like you talked about, these international Catholic things, the far right, and Israel is very important here. Israel basically has a handler for each, person of any political or cultural import in the United States, or somebody who just speaks independently. They don't want independent. Nobody wants independent media. So a lot of strange things are happening. But this vote, but you can install whoever you want through the voting machines or through vote fraud. So you really don't have the will of the people. So that's like the fundamental of a republic. So if you don't have that, you don't have a republic. Would you agree with that?
Legally, it's a republic legally, but but the electoral system was broken intentionally, obviously. And well, that's it. That's true. For example, in the issue of money laundering, there is an Argentinian senator, Cuellar, which is currently detained in Paraguay. Why was he detained? The thing is, the faction, or the liberal faction, which currently rules, the libertarians, want to destroy the other liberal factions, and that one. And he jailed Cuellar, by the way. And it seems maybe there is a possibility that the next Argentinian president, which is heavily involved in intel, the hobby of Macri is espionage, called someone in Brazil or in Paraguay and effectively arrange a detention, because they knew, everyone in Congress know their corruption. It was notorious. There was even a lot of rumor mongering about the senator going to the Bowen Hotel in Buenos Aires with backpacks and other things to move stuff.
Wow, backpacks to move money.
Yes, and that's what the people said in social media and so on, that they were going there to collect their rights from the libertarians.
The libertarians, interesting. It's incredible because the same thing's happening in the United States. There's just massive corruption here, but nobody gets arrested or goes to jail, or people have gold bars and all kinds of strange things happening.
And what happens is that who names the judge? The politicians. And so to be a judge, you need to be politically connected, because you need the Congress to name you, to appoint you.
Right.
And you need the president to be okay with that. So you need to be politically connected. So it's all a huge political structures which are connected globally on top of that.
Right.
And so when they fixed, they of course noticed all of this, and so they made an electronic voting machines to make electoral fraud, to perpetuate themselves in power and enjoy a life of privilege while ruining the people they hate and want to ruin.
Hey, there you go. That's the best way to end this whole discussion. That's it. So they want to appoint their own people. They created these voting machines to perpetuate that, to keep their power going, and basically fleece the public like you would shear a sheep, right? Like, I mean, that's basically it.
Yes, exactly. I even quote studies of the market of electronic voting machines, and there are, for example, British lords, for example, Lord Malloch Brown, which is partnering with Chavistas and with Democrats, and of course, being a British lord, maybe connected to Republicans, and to India, and to Brazil, because Brazil suffered from what they call the Anglo-Saxon domination, and they are kind of resentful about it, and the Indians too. And Lord Malloch Brown was the second of the United Nations with Kofi Annan. And he was heavily invested.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Pablo. What was his name again?
Lord Malloch Brown.
Lord Malloch Brown?
Yes. Okay. And he was heavily
with Kofi Annan, right?
Yes, with Kofi Annan.
Mark Malloch Brown. Is that right?
I don't remember.
Does that look like him?
Yes, this guy. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
Yes. So he was heavily invested in the electronic voting machines, both in Venezuela, and they tested it in Venezuela with the Chavistas, and then partnered with them to effectively improve it, their stranglehold against the American public and the American Republic, both. So we have a global effort to effectively rig elections, and they even make companies, multinational companies, to sell their capacities to rig elections through electronic voting machines, ruining in the process the democratic republics of the world, risking the current peace we enjoy and our good standard of living on top of that, and our security and our civil rights. It's a tragedy, and it's fundamental to tackle this head on, and I am doing it, because if not faced in a frontal manner, these people will end up ruining the world.
Right, they're going to ruin the world. This guy's friends with George Soros. He's a member of the order, the KCMG. I bet this guy's part of the Pilgrim Society. I haven't checked yet, but I bet his name pops up because I've done a lot of stuff on the Pilgrim Society, which all these guys are, it's really the Atlanticists, the Anglo-Saxon kind of elite. This guy's part of it. These guys are all rigging the freaking elections, putting in who they want. It's Smartmatic. There he is. Among his non-governmental and private sector roles, Malloch Brown became chairman of the board of directors of SGO Corporation Limited, a holding company whose primary asset is the election technology and voting machine manufacturer Smartmatic in 2014. Bam, done. Wow, incredible, off the charts.
That's it. And of course, there are more people. And well, so first thing is that to tackle electronic voting fraud, you can't just say it in the election night. Like that is an Argentinism. Improvising something which people will call bullshit, they won't believe it, it will look pathetic, and people will despise the one who says it. You can do it with no one can pull that off, like Trump tried, and he failed in 2020.
He failed.
You have to prepare something like this and do as we are doing in order of showing everyone that we know, everyone's know, they all know, the perpetrators know that we know and that we are not retarded, because they adults they suffer from a antisocial personality disorder, and so think we are all stupid.
Right,
And
antisocial personality disorder. But
anti-
a lot of this stuff may even go all the way to the top of the British Empire. If this guy's a member of the British Empire, it may go all the way to the king, part of their global reset agenda of fixing global elections right in front of your face. I mean, it's off the charts.
yes, it goes all the way. And these people really don't want democracy. That's the truth. They want a dictatorship. They want themselves in dictator, and need to be faced head on.
They have, like, sorry to interrupt, but they have Prince Harry here, right? The supposed son of King Charles III. He's in the United States. He's like, I don't understand this whole thing about free speech. Like, he doesn't get it. Like, free speech is a fundamental American characteristic of the American Republic, of what we used to have. So these guys don't even believe in that. They think we're all peasants and disposable, useless eaters, as George Bush Sr. would say.
Yeah, basically, they need democracy. A lot, tons of democracy.
Pablo, we are at the 50-minute mark. Maybe you could make your final statements, or just wrap up, or and then add where people can find your book, and then your social media so they can reach out to you.
Okay, great. Well, you can buy my book at Amazon, How to Choose a False President. Be careful looking for it. It's the one with the red cover, because Amazon closed the other account. And then you have a book in Spanish, Lado Oscuro de los Libertarios, and I will translate it to English. William asked me for it when we were talking a couple of hours ago, and I will just translate Dark Side of the Libertarians. The Libertarians are state-funded. They aren't genuine. They are state-funded.
And state-funded is what you're saying, state-funded.
Yes, I proved it. I proved that they are state-funded. Yes. There are several embassies behind. And then you have Twitter, Villizzianto, and then Blue Sky, Pablo Villizzianto. And well, I am making a Twitch also.
So you're on Twitch as well. I will put a link to your X Twitter file, and your last name is spelled Villizzianto. And we are talking about a 400-page book. Really, I think we didn't get in too deep into it, but the full title of the book is How to Choose a False President. So important. Well, so many of these leaders aren't authentic, not just in the United States, but worldwide. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So great book, and thanks for the discussion. Really appreciate it.
Yes, it's the one that looks that has a red cover. Let me see.
So I can't. It has a red cover. Let me see if I can find it.
Yes, the one in the private chat.
In the private chat. Okay, let me see if I can pull that up. That is. Okay, there we go. This is it. So
that one.
How to Choose a False President, Chronicle based in data, documents, and journalism. So I'll put a link to this one. This was just published October 24th, 2024. And then you can also see Pablo's biography here on Amazon. Born in Buenos Aires, 1995. 2022, published his first book. Vocal of the Autonomous Party. Never heard of that, for 2019, 2023. But again, Pablo, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, William.
All right, stay there.
Thank you very much.